What if history is a lie and the Tartaria mud flood is proof? The mud flood theory claims a global disaster buried entire cities, wiping out the Tartarian civilization. Then history was rewritten to erase them. Why? Because Tartarians allegedly harnessed free energy, pulling power from the atmosphere through advanced architecture. A world with free energy meant no control through oil, gas, or electric monopolies. The elite couldn't allow that, so they erased Tartaria from history. The evidence? Buried buildings, underground windows, and grand structures that seemed too advanced for their time, many appearing centuries older than official records claim. If the mud flood really happened, then everything we've been told about history is a lie. So the real question is, what else have they covered up?
This is the Milan Cathedral in Italy, and allegedly it was built in the 1300s and supposedly took 600 years to do, with hammer and chisel, horse and cart, ropes and pulleys, and just brute strength to create this amazing, beautiful, perfectly symmetrical structure with no technology, no power tools. How did they complete this? How did they build this? And they just had masterful level stonemasonry skills and just excellent project management and transferring of responsibilities over 600 years. This cathedral is made out of marble, and they mined it 60 miles away and just hauled it with brute strength over to Milan and built it. How did they get the marble up there? How did they hoist it up? How did they hand chisel it to be perfect? And that door, what is this door? Look at that door. Look how big that door is. That door is built for a giant. Why would they build a door that big for regular people? Look at those people. And look at that door. Oh, it's just for design. It's just for, aesthetics. Impractical. Where the handle's at. Look at this place, man. What is this place? This is not, this got converted into a church, but it wasn't originally built to be a church. Look at this. Y'all seen this? I think this is Jesus right here. Okay. And these looks like angels around Jesus' body. Jesus on the cross over there. Maybe another depiction of Jesus. This is very good imagery here. I don't know when this door was made, because they said it took 600 years. So who knows when this door was actually completed for real. They might tell you, oh, it's completed this year, but we don't know for sure. But this is Jesus, okay? Now, this place wasn't always a church. It was a power plant at some point. I'm just here to remind you, they did all this by hand. All of these statues and these dudes and these people in here, all by hand. Perfectly done by hand. No tech. That's what they say. This structure was not originally built to be a church. In the old world, in the old Tartarian civilization, this was a power plant or a power harnessing structure to get the etheric or atmospheric free energy and disperse it throughout the area. This was like a pylon. These are all pylons and stuff. And they were dispersing free energy to the different buildings. All these buildings with these antennas everywhere, that's what that was. These old buildings, they harnessed the ether that was shot out from these power plants. You're looking at the inside of an old world power distribution center. How did they build this? How did they hoist all this stuff up with technology, no cranes. How'd they do that in the 1300s, guys? Let me see a show of hands of people who believe that they did not build this in the 1300s with no tech or no abilities. Are y'all seeing the magnificence of this? You see that random guy at the top of that pylon right there? They put that guy up there. That's marble. That's marble. They put that marble dude on the top of this pylon. How did they get that up there? So these buildings, I'm telling you, like, they tried to destroy these buildings during World War II to get rid of the evidence. And I strongly believe that Christ reigned. The millennial reign already happened, and they hid that information. And a lot of these buildings are connected to that. The point of this video is to get you to open your eyes and question the mainstream and doubt what they say, because they're lying about this building. They're lying about history. They're giving you made-up, fabricated facts and providing proof, fake proof, in order to keep you in the matrix and docile. They're also creating lies and hiding information about Jesus Christ. And Jesus Christ, that Christianity is not a religion, guys. It's actually the truth. And these buildings and a lot of this history points straight to Christ. Many conspiracies point straight to the truth of Jesus Christ. And we're going to get into that in other videos.
Why are UFOs appearing in 700-year-old manuscripts, mate? Is this actually alien ships or one of humanity's biggest cover-ups? Let's check it out. First up, a 12th century manuscript describing a real event from 776 CE. During a siege on a Saxon castle, witnesses saw flaming, shield-like discs hovering in the sky. The objects appeared to start hovering over the top of the church, and the encounter terrified the attackers into immediate retreat. Now, historians say it could be meteors, but the descriptions sound awfully like modern UFO battles that we've heard throughout history. What do you think? Coincidence or a cover-up? Now let's jump to the 19th century Japan. There's an 1825 book retelling the legend of Utsuro-bun, or Hollow Ship. Fishermen found a round metallic vessel washing ashore, with a beautiful woman inside who spoke an unknown language and clutched a strange box. And there were unknown symbols inscribed inside the vessel itself. The woman wore fine clothes, spoke an unknown language, and clutched a plain wooden box she wouldn't let anybody touch. The vessel contained food, water, and decorated interiors, but no oars or sails. Then, unable to communicate with her specifically, the locals eventually put her back in the vessel and pushed her back out to sea, where she vanished off into the horizon. Now let's jump to the 17th century, Transylvania, a church fresco titled, "Israel, Put Your Hope in the Lord." It shows a domed saucer-like object hovering over a fiery building. Trailing smoke like exhausts, local call it a symbol of divine protection, but UFO hunters see a classic flying saucer. Now this was found painted in a remote Romanian church. Why include this if this wasn't based on something I witnessed? The mystery deepens. Finally, the late 15th century St. Jeremiah's Contemplation, from the Urbinate Bible in the Vatican Museum. St. Jeremiah meditates amid mountains and towns, but in the sky, a glowing round object shoots a straight yellow beam like laser down to Earth. Religious visions or captured UFO tech. Now this Renaissance miniature blends the mystic and the mundane, leaving us to ask, were artists encoding alien sightings for future generations to behold? You let me know down below. A glowing orb descends from the sky, hums strangely, then hits a parked car with a green laser beam and gets spotted on multiple occasions, never proven to be fake and never explained. Check this out. Here's what happened. The witness, known only as Bob, was out near the woods when he spotted this glowing orb in the distance. Watch as it approaches silently at first, and then that eerie hum kicks in like nothing on earth. It hovers right over his parked car, emitting this green laser-like beam that scans the vehicle, lighting up the hood and the windows in like an otherworldly glow. The object seems to pulse with energy, as you just heard in the footage, almost like it's observing, and then in a flash it shoots straight up and vanishes into the night. But is it real? As of 2025, no one's proven it fake, no CGI artifacts found in analysis, no confessions from hoaxers, and skeptics say it could be tricked out drone or reflections, but where's the proof? And similar sightings have popped up in and around the area around the same time, and around the world too. Coincidence? I'll show you some more footage. And the same object was spotted around Cleveland, Ohio around the same time. And if you look below this object, you can see the same green-like beam being emitted from the object. And the same object seen once again, shining a strange green beam below it around Lithia Springs in Georgia.
There's a Mandela effect. Sandy, what does she wear on her back?
Nothing.
Nothing?
No, she has nothing.
So you don't remember like an oxygen tank on her back so that she can breathe?
No, her oxygen comes from her suit.
But you don't remember a backpack at all?
No, there's no backpack. And I'll stand 10 toes on that. There's no backpack.
Yo,
You're tripping. If you
don't remember a backpack?
No.
I specifically remember Sandy, she used to have a backpack with like her oxygen. So that's where she can breathe from. Like an astronaut. Astronauts have the backpack and shit.
No, because in one of the episodes she was telling SpongeBob, oh, this is how I get my oxygen. And then oxygen came from her thing.
Yeah. But Mandela effect, a lot of people remember.
Okay.
Sandy actually had a backpack. That's what gave her the oxygen. It's gone.
Really?
Yeah. Okay, there's another one.
Okay,
this one's sick. This one, I can see it clear in my head.
Okay.
But it's not true. Check this out. I guess it's not true anymore.
Okay.
So check this out. So, do you remember Squidward, a scene with Squidward where he walks into the Krusty Krab?
Okay.
He walks in a circle. Sorry. He puts his hat on like a coat hanger.
Yeah.
He walks around in a circle, picks up his hat, and then walks out. So he's like, he puts the hat in, he's like, time to check in for work, walks around, puts the hat back on, and then leaves.
I think I do.
Pyramid power plant theory is a lot like Tesla's technology. The Giza plateau, there is an aquifer under there. There's a lot of water under there. And that water would create this resonant frequency. And they found copper rods that go down there that would help bring up some of the electricity, or however it worked. But then in the pyramid, at the various chambers, there's residue of certain chemicals that when combined create a lot of hydrogen. So coming down from the Queen's chamber, and then, I forget the other chamber. They're built in a way so they come down, you use gravity, and you just pour these chemicals down, creates this hydrogen reaction, there's residue of these chemicals there. This is not a conspiracy theory. The hydrogen expands, comes up through the gallery, this big hallway that goes up to the King's chamber. And they've discovered that in the Grand Gallery, there used to be these wooden posts, and those would create sound. It's called a Helmholtz resonator. Like when you blow across a bottle, it goes, whoo. That air is a Helmholtz resonator. So this hydrogen would come up through the chamber. These things would resonate with sound, F-sharp chord specifically, and that would cause it to build up more and more and more. The hydrogen expands. This chamber is built out of rose granite, which is an unusual type of granite because it's densely made of quartz. And when you compress quartz, it creates electricity. It's called piezoelectricity. And if you have a lot of quartz, you can create a lot of electricity. You've got the hydrogen expanding, creating this electricity. It's ionizing the air, amplifying it more. You've got the sound coming through, amplifying it more. And then you've got this hole leading into the King's chamber that's 4.8 inches by 8.4 inches, which is the perfect size for a hydrogen atoms microwave to just fit through as a waveguide. Comes up into the King's chamber, and the King's chamber has these pillars, and on top of it, a bunch of stones that are stacked. Everything is really smooth, except the top is really rough. But what they found is that this creates music, creates this chord. And what the theory is it's rough on top because they would chip away at it and tune it until it was just about right. And that's why it's smooth on the bottom but rough on the top. So you've got all this energy. So how do we get it out? When the pyramids were new or, intact, the interior is made out of a certain type of limestone that electricity can move around in. The exterior is made out of a different kind of limestone called THRLL limestone, which is quarried from far, far away. But it's a special type of limestone that's very low in magnesium. It's a great insulator. So you've got this electricity, and then you've got sort of this conductor, and then you've got another insulator. And that's called a dielectric, and that creates even more power. And if you had a gold capstone on top, which is a great conductor, you can force that energy up through the capstone and up into the ionosphere. And that's what Nikola Tesla was trying to do.
So they leaked Jeffrey Epstein's island visitors. First off, we have Celine Dion, Chris Tucker, Jay-Z, Robert De Niro, Robert Downey Jr., Paris Hilton, that's kind of obvious, Gwen Stefani, James Franco, that's obvious, Jim Carrey, that's kind of wild, Jimmy Kimmel, obvious, Joe Biden,
Oh my god.
Justin Trudeau,
I feel like everyone who has power now has been in that.
Tom Hanks, Ellen, of course.
Ellen, of course.
Before continuing, I wanted to warn you guys. Their phones were being spied on. Click on this icon, then on more. If you see it, delete it immediately.
Katy Perry,
Kinda. I can see her.
Eminem. Oh, that's kind of crazy.
Kinda it.
Eminem being there is kind of crazy, fam. Miley Cyrus is kind of obvious.
I know MGK is on there somewhere, or it has to be. There's no way MGK is not on there.
Yeah, he's definitely Illuminati. Beyonce, yeah, all these people. Angelina Jolie. Okay, boom. You know what's crazy though?
Yeah.
If you guys want part 2, comment part 2 right now.
I'm just gonna say it. It shouldn't exist. This place shouldn't be here. Machu Picchu isn't even the only city in the area that's 8,000 feet high. Yana Picchu is even higher. Before we try and explain how they got the rock to do that, you gotta explain why it was a priority to put doorways that go nowhere in the temple. This rock right here is what really gets me though. How do you get that up there? How did they know the same techniques as another culture across the globe? Why is the older stuff more advanced than the newer stuff? I don't see iPhones getting worse. I wouldn't know how to get water up here, but their fountains still work. We only know how they did it because we 3D scanned it. Not only did they know how to get it up there, they delivered it to the citizens via art. No one gives these guys enough credit. They thought these were for food or like grain, grinding grain up. They fill up with water one day and someone notices the angle at which they reflect. Built them to observe sections of the sky during specific times of the year through the windows of the surrounding building. And then we realize the whole place is aligned to the sky, celestial events. Here's the deal, when someone comes in and takes all your stuff, then enslaves your people, they get to write your story and make your people look like idiots. South America, Africa, India. Strange that they all have some form of this guy. All of them just so happen to have the most unexplainable stuff. Utterly unsatisfactory explanations for what it was. All of which make the natives look inferior. Tell you what doesn't lie. A big ol' rock.
What if the Mississippi River isn't just America's great river, but the Euphrates from the Bible? In Scripture, the Euphrates is tied to Eden, and Revelation warns that when it dries up, the end times begin. Everyone assumes that river is in the Middle East, but the Mississippi matches the description perfectly. It's massive, winding, and powerful. Even the name Mississippi, from a native word meaning Great River, mirrors the Euphrates title in Hebrew, which also means Great River. Ancient native legends even tell of a serpent river echoing biblical accounts. So if the Mississippi really is the Euphrates, then maybe the prophecies aren't happening overseas. Maybe they're unfolding right here in America.
What if Lucifer isn't in hell, but locked under the Vatican? In 1853, the church uncovered a hidden tomb beneath St. Peter's Basilica. Inside, a black coffin, wrapped in 7 chains, covered in 72 symbols, each one tied to a demon from the Ars Goetia. The church believed those symbols weren't decoration, they were containment. And each time the world fails, war, famine, corruption, a chain breaks. One snapped in 1914, another in 1945, then 1968, and again in 2001. Only 3 remain. The Vatican denies the tomb exists, but deep beneath Rome, Lucifer is moving.
A global flood seemed pretty ridiculous until now with this. It explains nearly everything with models and evidence. But for the longest time, we couldn't model a global flood scenario that would bury literally everything, which is why it was such a hotly debated topic, especially the water erosion on the Sphinx. If the poles shifted, it would create a sloshing of the oceans of the Earth. The sloshing would go over the low parts of the continent and then drain back out. Those flow patterns are seen in Egypt and Saudi Arabia. A huge drain for this would be Mauritania. Any ancient city that was there would have got wiped off the continent and swallowed by the ocean in a debris field that we find right off the coast. It's called the Mauritania Slide Complex. This dude started recording history for the West. When he spoke with the Egyptian priests, they said they have been through 4 of these events, which is just one account of upwards of 500 global flood legends, these ranging all the way from Mexico to Rome. It would explain why there's 3 different erosion patterns on the Great Pyramid and why there are cities in the sky, like in Sri Lanka and Peru. This is the best part. 85% of ancient temples are aligned to this mysterious North Pole, from the Passage Mounds in England to every pyramid in China. From that pole to our pole is what this simulation is. This theory was proposed by the ethical skeptic. Juno on X has released 4 research papers this year on the topic and makes all these sweet simulations. I'm gonna cover what they presented, from the geology to the physics to how they tie these shelters into the narrative, and even give you a field guide for surviving one at the end. That's going to be on YouTube if you need something fun to watch with the fam over the next couple days. Click that after you follow me if you don't want to wait. I've got enough rabbit holes to put you in Wonderland for the winter, and they're all $10 right now. My hair is cut, buckle up, I love you the most.